I found myself ensnared from all angles, elongated upon the bed as if I were something revered and possessed. One man moved beneath me, another behind me, a third at my lips, each motion perfectly timed. No words, just breath, rhythm, and surrender. My body curved into the tumult, not fighting it but yearning for more. And when I finally surrendered, it wasn't with regret. It was with a breath, a plea, and a reality I could never erase. My name is Natalie. I'm 31 years old, a copywriter from Santa Cruz, and tomorrow I will be getting married. That is the plan at the very least. In a boutique hotel suite in Carmel by the Sea, I find myself alone, enveloped by the gentle glow of candlelight, a half-finished bottle of wine at my side, and the soothing sound of waves lapping against the shore just outside the balcony. The dress hangs by the window, impeccably pressed and flawless. My vows are penned in a leather journal on the nightstand, partially crossed out, partially rewritten, as if I'm uncertain about which version of myself I should present at the altar. Jack, my fiancé, is thoughtful and reliable, the kind of man who ensures your tires are properly inflated, who takes your hand when you speak to unfamiliar faces, who values grocery lists and the opportunity for second chances. He is secure and his love for me runs deep. However, to be truthful, he hasn't ignited any passion within me, at least not recently. We crossed paths in the latter part of what I refer to as my adventurous years, nights filled with red wine and strangers who remembered my name for just one evening, but not the following morning. Upon meeting Jack, I let out a breath. I believe that indicated I was truly prepared to settle down, but tonight, as I lie here in silk pajamas that feel foreign to me, staring up at a ceiling fan that spins slower than my racing thoughts, I ponder whether I am truly prepared to let go of the version of myself that embraced spontaneity, chaos, and the warmth of skin against skin, simply because it felt right in that moment. During dinner, Jack remarked on my half-joking comment about marriage leading to a dull existence. He gazed at me with unwavering seriousness and declared, "We won't be boring, I promise." I found it amusing back then, but now I question whether he was serious, and that's when it all unfolded. A gentle tap on the door. 3 brief taps resembling an inquiry. I didn't anticipate anyone's arrival. My friends were located in the rooms further down the hall. Though my phone remained silent, an undeniable force, curiosity, recklessness, instinct, compelled me to rise from my seat. I walked softly across the room, cinched my robe more securely around my waist, and opened the door. 3 men were positioned there. There was silence between them. They remained expressionless. They simply bided their time. Then one of them, tall, tan, and tattooed, stepped forward and handed me a small white envelope. It had my name on it. I didn't open it right away, as it was in Jack's handwriting. The envelope felt weightless in my grasp, almost devoid of substance, as if it held something too trivial to pose any threat. Yet, a sensation stirred in my stomach when I noticed the meticulous way he had inscribed my name. Jack's handwriting consistently appeared as if he aimed to impress. Neat, intentional, much like his character. I took a step back in silence, not out of comprehension but because in some way I just knew. They slipped in silently. Skipped the small talk. No looks were shared. The crisp sound of polished shoes gliding across the floor, accompanied by the undeniable aura of men who were fully aware of their purpose for being here. I shut the door behind them, and that soft yet definitive click resonated like the beginning of a tale that cannot be reversed. I found myself in the center of the room while they positioned themselves, one by the armchair, another close to the window, and the last casually leaning against the minibar. Their silence felt comfortable. It remained vigilant, anticipating my arrival. I carefully opened the envelope, a solitary card. Plain and simple. Simple and direct. Only 10 words crafted in that same precise, thoughtful style. You mentioned that you were afraid of monotony. This is your response. Enjoy yourself this evening. I look forward to seeing you at the altar. J. Everything was present, the authorization, the arrangement, the assurance, and the part of me that once pursued nights like this, the version I believed I had buried beneath routines and spreadsheets and safe choices, returned swiftly. I glanced up at them and noticed 3 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Inquisitive, understanding, welcoming? Seems he truly intended it, I remarked primarily to myself. The individual seated by the window was the first to speak. His voice was low and steady, as if he had been briefed and required no rehearsal. "We are here to support you. This is the only thing that holds significance tonight." Something in his tone transformed the moment from an invitation into a promise. I did not inquire about their names. I didn't require an introduction. All I required was a breath, only one. Then I took a step forward. I strolled by them deliberately, not out of doubt, but driven by intrigue. It felt as though I was entering a room I had envisioned in my dreams, yet had never summoned the courage to explore. One extended a hand toward my robe tie. He simply held it gently between his fingers, as if seeking permission without uttering a word. I acknowledged with a nod. The knot unraveled softly. The silk glided off my shoulders, momentarily snagging at my elbows before cascading to the floor. Chilly air caressed my skin. And then there was warmth. A hand resting on my lower back, consistent. Another hand glides up my arm. Fingertips linger at my shoulder. The gentleman at the minibar advanced. He appeared to be in his mid-40s, possessing a rugged charm. His eyes examined me not as a man evaluating a body, but as one admiring a painting from a close distance. He took his time. He lifted a hand and gently swept a strand of hair away from my face. He leaned in so close that I could catch the scent of leather, musk, and a hint of coffee. "You're not feeling anxious," he remarked softly. I was not. Perhaps I was, but not in the way that truly counted. One of them grasped my hand and guided me gently backward toward the bed. I did not put up any resistance. I trailed my fingers over buttons, skin, and belt loops as I followed. Their garments were removed gradually, with purpose and calmness, devoid of haste, simply embodying the moment. They moved as if they had all night, and I wished to grant them just that. One knelt behind me, directing my hips forward while another carefully laid me back. The third bent down, his lips grazing the curve of my stomach, his hands strong and steady on either side of me as if he sought to anchor himself. And for the first time that night, someone kissed me, unhurried and genuine, just lips meeting lips like the beginning of something delicate and intense. My breath caught in my throat. Their hands remained steady. Their mouths moved without hesitation. They moved in a serene cadence, exuding a confidence that invites rather than demands. One by one they explored, hands gliding along my thighs, a tongue tracing the inside of my wrist, lips brushing against my spine as if every part of me concealed its own secret. They were eager to learn each and every one. Time became gentler. My pulse remained steady. One man pressed his lips along my stomach while another gently lifted my chin to meet his mouth. The third positioned himself behind me once more, his hands resting on my waist, his lips grazing just behind my ear. I was surrounded from all sides. My legs quaked as they raised me with ease. I found myself positioned at the center of the bed, akin to a precious item that had already been spoken for. One man knelt between my legs, his shoulders lowering, while another directed himself toward my lips. The third took their time. He examined every area of skin his mouth could access. I could sense their choreography, skilled yet composed, one advancing while the other retreated. My breath ceased to be mine. It surrendered to the rhythm they created. In the midst of it all, just before everything shifted, I recalled that if you've journeyed this far and you're still captivated alongside me, be sure to hit that super chat or drop a super sticker below. The moments we share sustain this channel, and your support is invaluable. Now back to the heat. The man between my thighs gazed up at me with an unwavering look. I seemed to have forgotten how to blink. He entered me slowly and completely, and I gasped into the kiss of the one above. My fingers grasped his hips. The other man steadied my arm, pressing his chest against my side, as if to reassure me that I wasn't alone in any of this. They did not invite me to speak. They interpreted my body as a guide, and I allowed them to lead me to destinations I had only envisioned. During the evenings when I rested next to the man I was meant to wed, pondering whether he would ever genuinely perceive me, this evening I was not concealed. This evening I found myself at the center of attention. As I surged into the next wave with one mouth at my breast, one hand gripping the back of my knee, and a voice softly groaning into my shoulder, I finally ceased to think. I merely experienced. The atmosphere had fallen silent once more, save for the cadence of breathing and the gentle movement of bodies against the fabric. My hands glided instinctively over skin through hair, along the curve of a shoulder or thigh. All around was a rich texture of warmth, strength, and noise. One of them reclined, arms extended, eyes locked onto mine as if challenging me to seize the moment. I certainly did. I carefully positioned myself over him, my knees resting on either side of his hips. He led me softly, his hands on my waist, providing support as I discovered my rhythm. The tension between us vibrated like electricity beneath the surface. Each movement elicited a soft, low groan from him, the sort of sound that seeps into your very bones and lingers. However, I didn't remain standing for long. A different man stepped behind me. I sensed his presence before he even made contact. A palpable energy, a heaviness. His hand glided along the curve of my back, gently tilting my hips just a touch. I steadied myself with one hand pressed against the chest of the man below me, while my other hand reached forward as the third person came into sight. He stood on the bed within reach of my lips. Indeed, it happened. I opened for him with intuition, not deliberation. I sensed the movement behind me, the stillness, the gradual pressure, and then the exquisite sensation of being entirely fulfilled. I inhaled sharply, my breath heating his skin as he let out a low groan and tenderly tangled his fingers in my hair. We moved in unison, intertwined, inseparable. Each push from behind propelled me into the warmth of the man ahead. My body moved between them, poised and receptive and gasping, and all I could do was yield to the rhythm they established. I was shattered yet not defeated. In the midst of it all, amidst the weight of bodies and hands, the moans, tension, and pressure, I experienced a sense of presence like never before, a deeper honesty, a heightened aliveness. The man beneath me murmured something I couldn't quite hear, only sensing the urgency in his tone. He sat up a bit, his lips grazing my collarbone. His arms encircled me as if he were unwilling to release his hold, even in the face of impending doom. Perhaps for just a brief instant it truly was. Perhaps all that I believed I was meant to be was consumed, right there, amidst three men who did not belong to me. Perhaps this was the version of me that had always lingered just beneath the surface. I awoke to gentle light filtering through the curtains. The sheets were entwined, my body experiencing a deliberate ache. One man was already gone. Another sat in the chair by the window, half-dressed, sipping coffee from a paper cup. The third was still beside me, hand resting loosely on my thigh, like we hadn't burned the night down hours earlier. No one spoke. There was no need. I reached for my phone. It was 7:04 a.m. In 5 hours, I would find myself beneath a flower arch, gazing into the eyes of a man who had offered me this night not as a challenge, not as a snare, but as a precious gift, as a commitment that we would not lead a life constrained by monotony, that I would not have to suppress the aspects of myself that yearned for something greater. I gradually sat up. The man next to me shifted, then leaned in to place a final kiss on my shoulder. Take your time. Without regret, simply respect. He rose, put on his clothes, and the door closed gently behind him. Once more I found myself in solitude. However, I did not experience a sense of solitude. I felt satisfied, and not solely in the apparent ways, clear and concise, embracing what is. There is a peculiar, undeniable enchantment that occurs when someone expresses, I recognize every part of you, and I still select you. And that person was waiting for me at the altar. This isn't the narrative I envisioned sharing one day. However, at this moment, I wouldn't exchange it for anything, not even for surety. If you've reached this point and felt a spark while listening, think about supporting the channel with a super chat or a super sticker. It may seem like a minor act, yet it enables us to continue sharing narratives that embrace the complex and beautiful aspects of the human experience. And keep in mind, desire is not something to be ashamed of. Trust is not a sign of weakness. And affection, love can often be the bravery to embrace a yes, even when the world insists on a no. Embrace your narrative without hesitation,